Whoa. Wow. It feels like I'm levitating right now. Woo. Yes. Yeah, I'm speechless, man. You know what I mean? Hope everyone's good. It's your favorite music connoisseur Henry here, and I'm back like I never flipping left. The time has come. The time has come for me to review and to listen to one of the greatest albums, factually, of all time. For those of you who don't know, I listen to other pieces of music beside R&B and hip hop. I'm a fan of all different types of genres, and this particular album that I'm going to be reviewing and listening to for the very first time, and I'm not lying when I say this. I know you get some reactors that say that this is their first time listen, but it's actually not their first time listen. For me, this is really my first time listen, and I wanted to react to and listen to a band that I am a very huge fan of. You're probably going to say, well, if you're a huge fan of them, how could you not have possibly heard this album? And that's correct. That is very true. You know, I'd be asking the same thing. But it's just that I haven't come around to listening to it. I think I've heard about a couple tracks from it, but I've never really sat down and you know, listened to the entire project. What I'm really referring to, I mean, you would know because the title of this video will give it away. I wanted to take a deep dive into Radiohead's Kid A album. To many Radiohead fans out there, and please let me know in the comments if I'm saying this correctly, but I've seen quite a few Radiohead fans say that this is Radiohead's magnum opus. This is their best album. Now, I've listened to In Rainbows. I've listened to the brilliant OK Computer. I've heard a few of their other albums here and there, but this is the one, ladies and gentlemen, that I've been keen to listen to because this is the one that always gets brought up in conversation in regards to Radiohead's best album and just in general one of the best albums of all time. We can just read off some of the accolades that Kid A has to its name. Rolling Stones 500 greatest album list. In 2020 they did an updated list and Radiohead was placed at number 20, which is just crazy. Apple Music literally just released their best 100 album list. Kid A was placed at number 33, which is the highest rated Radiohead album in that list. I think there was another album, it might have been OK Computer, that was also on that list as well, but Kid A was ranked the higher out of the two. So Kid A also won a Grammy in 2004 best alternative album. Well, I was also doing some research and shockingly enough, during the Brit Awards that year, Kid A didn't win no awards. As a matter of fact, as a band, Radiohead have been nominated 17 times for the Brits and have no awards. So they've been nominated 17 times and they have no Brit Awards, which is absolutely scandalous. I mean, let's not even get into a conversation about the Brit Awards because we'll be here all day. But I feel like this is one of the greatest bands of all time, and for them to not win one Brit Award in their career is absolutely scandalous. Brits, you need to be held accountable. You need to be held accountable. That is disgusting. But that's another topic for another day. Kid A went on to achieve so many great things. The cultural impact that this album had on rock is not to be understated. Also need to mention this, that I think I also did a bit of research and I realized that Tom York, the legendary Tom York, wanted to depart from rock music when they were making this album. I think, you know, he was starting to draw influence from electronic music and jazz. So Tom York wanted this album to be a lot more experimental compared to their previous albums. That's what I found really interesting. So I'm excited to see what this is going to sound like. Listen, I've been doing too much talking. It's time to get into the main event. Before we get into the video, I'm gonna need everyone to like, comment and subscribe. Listen, without further ado, let's get into this. I'm excited for this one. Let's go. First track I'm gonna play, which is the first track on the album, is Everything Is In Its Place. Let's see how this one sounds. Sims. Amazing. Wow. That was everything in this right place. Wow, man. I don't know what to think. This eerie sort of mysterious, spooky kind of vibe that I was getting, like somebody was trapped. I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels like the lead vocalist was crying out for help. Like they had all of these voices in their head, and they were trying to sort of they were trying to kind of just get out everything they were feeling inside. I'm going through the lyrics, and you know, he's talking about yesterday I woke up sucking a lemon. Yesterday I woke up sucking the lemon. Then verse 2, there are two colors in my head. What is it you try to say? Really don't know what to say or think. It's one of those tracks that kind of leave you a bit speechless. It leaves you thinking. It leaves you kind of in a bit of a riddle. I want to give a shout out to the production real quick. One of the things I love about Radiohead is the fact that they are so progressive, and the different sounds and different instruments that they incorporate in their music. For me, is what makes them one of the greatest bands of all time. Like, they're not afraid to experiment. They're not afraid to kind of go against the status quo. And in this track, in this track, that's definitely evident. I'm hearing all types of things from every angle, and from the surface level, it seems like those type of instruments and those type of sound frequencies that they're trying to use shouldn't mesh well together, but they do, if that makes sense. It's like a whole bunch of chaos, but it's not a bad chaos. It's sort of like a good chaos. It's a chaos that's very intriguing, and the production kind of just goes hand in hand with the lyrics. Like, it's very abstract. It's very like all over the place. But I felt the emotion of the lead vocalist, even though I didn't really get what they were trying to say. I just felt that they were, it's like a cry for help. Like, they were in some sort of pain. They were trying to vocalize something, all of the thoughts that's been going on in their head. But correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my first time listening to it. I need to go back to listening to it again just to catch the whole vibe of the record. But that's what it felt like to me, just right off the bat. It felt like the lead vocalist was questioning something, you know. It's that sort of narrative of hearing voices in my head. You know, when you hear voices in your head, and like the voices get a bit overwhelming, and it's like you don't really know how to articulate what you're feeling, so you just, I don't know, you just spill out anything that you can really think of, or you know, there's not really much thought behind what you're saying. You just want to get your thoughts out, but you can clearly hear just from the tone of this person's voice, just from their cadence, that yeah, it's been something that's been bothering them, like, and they're trying to escape something. I don't know, but that's just my initial thoughts, guys. That track was an amazing introduction to this album, and if this is gonna be, you know, a synopsis for how the rest of the album's gonna go, then boy, listen, I'm in for a great listening experience. But I always say that the first track of any album needs to grab the listener's attention, and this certainly did that. Let's move into the second track, which is called, funny enough, Kid A. It's the title of the album, so let's see how this one sounds. Loving the instrumentation, man. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. What is that? Wow. It feels like I'm levitating right now. It feels like I'm legit levitating right now. It feels like I'm being taken up into the sky, ascending myself into heaven. Wow. That was Kid A. Wow. Listen, we're only 2 tracks in, man. This is just not me faking my emotions and faking my reaction just to get views, but I'm genuinely blown away 2 tracks in. I mean, I feel myself getting lost in this. Apologies, or I'm saying sorry in advance for, maybe closing my eyes or just like doing some weird shit whilst I'm listening to this. I'm sorry, but not sorry. I base my listening experience off the emotion that I'm feeling in that moment in time. So I can't help sometimes but to react a certain way if I feel like something's really taking a hold on me, or if I'm really connecting to the music. And right now this is what I'm doing. Like I'm connecting to this. It's hard for me to put into words how this track, for example, and the track before made me feel during when the song was playing. Man, I felt like I was ascending into heaven, man. This track felt so spiritual without really saying too much. Like, there wasn't really, I know that a vocoder was used, but, and obviously with a vocoder you can't, sometimes it's hard to make out what they're saying, but I think this track here didn't really need to say much. The lyrical side, like, the instrumentation was doing its job for it, if that makes sense. Like, and this is what's so great about Radiohead. Like, they don't really need to say much or do much. Sometimes the background vocals or the instrumentation, or the synths or whatever they've got going on in the background says it all. And that's the sign of a generational artist or a generational band. The fact that they can do not say much and still have a profound impact on you. And this is what that track kind of did for me. Trying to dissect the lyrics, or trying to dissect what the vocoder was trying to say. And I think it was clever the way they used it. Like, some of my favorite artists have used this sort of technique before. Kanye, if you guys don't know, is one of my favorite artists of all time. During Runaway, towards the end of the track, he used like a vocoder. It's so beautifully done. It was hard to make out what it was saying, but I don't know, man. It just added another layer to the record. That made it feel special. I don't know, but obviously the likes of Tom York and Kanye and people like that, they're geniuses, right? So they know exactly what to do to invoke that sort of emotion out of you, man. So, moving on to the third track, and this is called National Anthem. Okay, so we've picked it up tempo wise. This is a lot more hard hitting than the previous tracks. A lot more kick, a lot more bass behind it. It's definitely a lot more up tempo. Ooh. Ooh. Yes. That was the national anthem. So first and foremost, again, like I said during when the song was playing, this song felt a lot more giddy, a lot more up tempo, a lot more hard hitting. There was a lot more oomph applied to this record. Also carries on the theme of very ambiguous lyrics, very short lyrics, the voice distortion and the feedback echo that I think I heard during parts of this song. I don't know, it created this sort of, how can I even describe it? This sort of isolation, this sort of fear. It felt like, a sense of protection. Like somebody's trying to protect something. Somebody has put their walls up and they're trying to protect. That's how it made me feel anyway. This album was supposed to be a lot more experimental, but it feels like this track is definitely something that the old school Radiohead fans would have been used to. Like this is a song that you could probably hear on one of their other albums before this album was released. Each track has given me a different mood, a different vibe, and I love the versatility that Radiohead is showing right now. And I'm definitely here for it. So the next record is How to Disappear Completely. Let's see how this one sounds.
That's not me. Where I walk through walls. I'm not here. This isn't happening. Little world. It's already passed. Yeah, it's gone. I'm not
Wow. Let me just say right off the bat, that is one of the most beautifully written and composed songs I've ever heard in my life. And I am not lying, I'm not over exaggerating. That is literally one of the most beautifully composed and written songs I've ever felt in my life. That was a complete out of body experience. And just off my initial thoughts, this was somebody trying to run away from something. This was somebody trying to run away from something, and a bit of denial as well, because I'm looking at the lyrics here and it's saying, I'm not here, this isn't happening. This is the chorus. I'm not here, I'm not here. In a little while, I'll be gone. The moment's already passed. Yeah, it's gone. It feels like somebody that's, like I said, trying to run away from something. They're in denial about something. They're trying to convince themselves that that what they're seeing is not real. Very minimal production. It's quite stripped back, you know. But again, that's to make you feel the emotion of the record. Come to grips with the hustle and bustle, with the ups and downs of life. It's a record that maybe when you're going through something, you don't know where you're going to, or you don't know which road to turn to. You just put this on and you just kind of just have an out of body experience, man. All the records that I've heard so far, and all of them have been A plus plus. I feel like this record is the one that is probably, along with probably the first record and this record, are the most vulnerable records I've heard so far. Just by the track title, How to Disappear Completely, maybe that gives it away as well. I didn't even realize maybe that gives it away. It's crazy. And you know, sometimes in life it gets like that, man. Like when life gets a bit too overwhelming, man, sometimes you just feel like disappearing. Sometimes you just feel like you know, this is stuff that a lot of people can relate to. Sometimes you just feel like disappearing. Kind of reminds me of Craig David, Walking Away. It's a bit like that, really. It's not too dissimilar from a record like that. Life just gets too hard. I just want to walk away. I just want to disappear. I just want to just get away from it, or probably reset. Yeah, it gets like that. But yeah, this was a beautiful record. The next song that is on this album is called Tree Fingers. Interesting. That was Tree Fingers, and I didn't expect that. It's a, you know, it's probably it's the first track that I've heard on this album that is completely lyric free. Like it's an instrumental. I expected maybe, you know, lyrics to kind of kick in during the middle to latter part of the song, but no, this is a complete instrumental, which is pretty interesting. That was that's a real interesting move, just to go from like tracks that had minimal lyrics to medium lyrics, to a track that's completely lyric free and it's just an instrumental. Yeah, but I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. Again, it's a track that you can definitely get lost in. One thing I kind of like about this is that you don't really know what to expect. It's like the variety is crazy right now. No track is the same. And if you're gonna do an experimental album, this is the way to do it, right? It's completely expansive. You don't know what you're gonna sort of listen to next, which keeps the audience on its toes. It's definitely keeping me on my toes. I'm very intrigued to hear what the next track is going to be and what the rest of the album is going to sound like. But I'm all here for it, man. I'm all here for it. Next record is Optimistic, and I'm guessing just by the song track title that this record is a bit more up tempo. Just from the track title, because if it's optimistic, then yeah, I guess like the track's got to be optimistic as well. Do you know what I mean? Let's go. Let's hear it. My guesses were correct.
Thought you circling the
Yeah. Optimistic was a lot more like the national anthem, um, a lot more like the sort of Radiohead that a lot of people are used to, a lot more up tempo, a lot more in your face, a lot more direct, and it's a complete contrast basically to how to display completely. Like the mood has completely flipped, and it's interesting to kind of dissect the lyrics in the first verse when Tom York's talking about flies are buzzing around my head, vultures circling the dead, picking up every last crumb, the big fish eat the little ones. They kind of dissect the lyrics of the first verse. Seems like somebody who is, you know, who is filled with greed, who is filled with an exploitative attitude. Maybe I don't know. They're talking about just the system, how society works. But it's a complete contrast to the chorus. You can try the best you can. You can try the best you can, which kind of ties into the optimistic title track. The best you can is good enough. Basically, giving someone a pep talk, giving somebody like a positive message, a positive pep talk, saying that listen, whatever you do, you can do it to the best of your abilities, and it can get you somewhere. It's the message of if you don't try, you don't succeed, but if you try, then you can succeed. If that makes sense, I love the message behind it. Even though, like I said, from the first verse to the second verse, there is a bit of a contrast there, but the overall message of the song I actually like, and something. Whereas like How to Disappear Completely comes from the other side of the spectrum, in terms of somebody that is just over life and just wants to run away and just not deal with their problems. To now you flip it and it's like no, it's more encouraging, for example, whereas How to Disappear Completely is more discouraging, whereas this one is a lot more encouraging, which is, yeah, it's the ebbs and flows of life, right? You have your ups and you have your downs. So in How to Disappear Completely, the person that was referenced was kind of going through like a bad patch, as we all do, but now they've kind of picked themselves up and they're feeling a lot more optimistic about life, i.e. the song title. So yeah, I like that. I like that flip. Next track of the album is called In Limbo.
On your side, nowhere to hide. Trapdoors that open, I spiral down. Your
Whoa. Interesting ending there. Feels like somebody was being taken away, was being carried away or dragged away. I don't know. Another track that gave me a picture of, gave me like a dreamy imagery of something. Again, I think what I love about this album is the fact that it makes you think. It makes you imagine. Again, this track has done that for me. I mean, I can't really put my finger on what this track means, but maybe again it's carrying on the theme of loneliness or someone being lost and confused. I mean, again, the title track is called In Limbo, and typically when you're in limbo, you're in a state of confusion. You're in a state of panic. You're in a state of uncertainty. Like you don't know what's happening. Like you're at a crossroads, and maybe that's what this is. Again, dissecting the lyrics. You know, I'm on your side, nowhere to hide. Trap doors that open, I spiral down. You're living in a fantasy world. You're living in a fantasy world. I'm lost at sea. Don't bother me. I've lost my way. Again, I've lost my way. Goes back to how to disappear completely. You can tie that into everything is in its right place. Because remember, I felt like that track was someone trying to call out for help. Somebody that was kind of lost. So yeah, I'm lost at sea. Pretty interesting. So there was a thing that I read about. There's a theological meaning of limbo as well. I don't know if it's like I don't know. I saw it somewhere where it could be like a double entendre. Like it could also mean that you're in a state of confusion, but you're also in this in it's like good. It's like you've got the good. You got the angel and the devil on your shoulder, and you don't know which one to kind of pick. Like you don't know whether to listen to the angel. You don't know whether to listen to the devil. Like it's a cross between good and evil. Maybe again that's what he's trying to. Maybe there's a hidden meaning behind limbo as well. And it could be that I don't know. Just again, that's what I'm saying. It gets your mind thinking. That's what this album does. It gets your mind thinking, and I love this. Guys, listen, man. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this album again. But so far, man, again, I'm speechless, man. You know what I mean? I can't really say too much. I'm just caught in my own thoughts, man. I apologize. This track is called Idioteque. Sorry if I'm butchering that. L'Idioteque. I don't know what that means. But yeah, let's listen to it. Oh, I love this. Ooh. In terms of the style of production and the choice of beats, this is definitely the most ambiguous and the most ambitious I've heard so far on this album. I feel like this is probably from a production point of view my favorite track, man. The first track that I've heard on this album that explores a lot more of the electronic sounds that Tom York wanted to try out for this album. It definitely feels like a departure or a getaway from their original sound or the sound that they were known for prior to this album. It feels like a complete flip, but I absolutely loved it, man. Like flipping out, I was nodding my head off. In terms of the theme, I'm just trying to work out what this is just by reading off the lyrics. I mean, verse 1, who's in the bunker, women and children first, and the children first, and the children. I'll laugh until my head comes off. The chorus, here I am alive, everything all the time. Verse 2 is where I'm not too sure what verse 1 is all about. Women, women and children first. Maybe they're trying to protect the children, protect women and children from something. Maybe something is coming. Women and children need to be protected because typically, for example, like when a country's at war, right? When they're trying to gather shelter, women and children, mainly the children, will always be the first to get called out and to go into shelter, and then the woman would follow. So maybe, yeah, this is kind of a way of like something is coming, maybe like a earthquake or I don't know, a tornado or something, and the women and children obviously need to be put into shelter first before the men are. I think verse 2 is where I'm able to probably dissect it a bit more. Ice Age is coming, Ice Age is coming. Let me hear both sides, let me hear both sides. Ice Age coming. We're not scaremongering, this is really happening. So probably this is someone trying to warn people that something is coming, maybe like a snowstorm or like some form of earthly disaster is about to happen. Even warning that something's about to happen, and it's not scaremongering, it's actually happening, it's actually about to take place. So probably this is like a warning to tell people, listen, you better get your shit together because it's coming, it's going to hit us from all angles. This is definitely in my top 2 or 3 best tracks that I've heard so far, or 2 or 3 favorite tracks I've heard so far. I love how thought provoking again this is, and this is also very conceptual. This album is very conceptual. Like there are hidden meanings behind almost every track. And I love when music's like that. This is me in my element, guys. You know what I mean? It's me in my element. But yeah, lovely, lovely track, man. Next track is Morning Bell. This was a lot more easier for me to dissect in terms of like the lyrics and what this is conceptually about. This track was referencing somebody that was breaking up with somebody, or somebody that was getting divorced. Lyrics like, you can keep the furniture, a bump on the head. Obviously, typically when you're getting divorced, you know, it's a process of trying to figure out who gets who. Like, you know, if you have a dog, if you have a house, if you have any sort of assets, you're gonna have to split them, or somebody's gonna have to give up something. Release me, please. Again, it sounds like somebody's begging to be released out of this relationship, out of this marriage. It's like a cry for help. Like, please, man, you know, you've done enough damage. I just wanna. It could maybe you know, it might not even have been what the other person did. Maybe you just want to free yourself because you know you can no longer commit to that marriage or that relationship. So yeah, Somebody's in clear desperation. They want to be released from this situation, this marriage or this relationship. There's some sort of desperation that I get from reading these lyrics. You know, where you park the car, clothes on the lawn with the furniture. It seems like this sort of parting of ways is not real. Is not really amicable. Again, clothes are on the lawn with the furniture. Seems like this person's just thrown out the clothes. I think what really made me convince me that this was about marriage or divorce is the whole cut the kids in half reference. Cut the kids in half, joint custody. When you get married, you have kids, and then you eventually get divorced. You've got to work out who's gonna get sole custody of the kids and who's gonna have them on a minimal basis. So yeah, tough. And I'm sure many people can relate to this. It's a real life experience that a lot of people go through. So yeah, this was very. I'm sure this was a popular and relatable song for a lot of people. So guys, we are down to the penultimate track, the last track before the end. Kind of makes me a bit sad, you know. This this album reaction has been one of my favorites. Without further ado, here's motion picture soundtrack. Let's see how this one sounds. I love those church organs. Sounds very spooky, very mysterious.
Sleeping pills help me get back to yours. Keep crazy. Maybe if
Whoa. Wow.
it's not like
Wow. That was probably one of the most depressing songs I've ever heard. One of the most depressing, one of the most sad, one of the most bittersweet. To start off the track, you know, with sort of like the organ that was playing at the start of the track, like kind of felt very haunting. Felt very haunting, very daunting, very spooky. Tom York sang that so beautifully, man. I mean, I haven't mentioned it a lot in this review, but honestly, the vocal performance of Tom York on this album was special. Again, this goth going by the lyrics. Red wine and sleeping pills help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films help me get where I belong. Just from that first verse alone, it seems like somebody who is just sinking themselves in a wall of pity, in a wall of sadness, maybe in a wall of regret. It links back to the previous song Morning Bell, where you know, the lyrics are about somebody getting a divorce. Now maybe this is them dealing with the aftermath of that divorce, dealing with the sadness of that divorce, dealing with come to terms with the fact that that person that they were married to or in a relationship with is no longer there. So, we've all dealt with heartbreak. It's not a nice feeling. I'm telling you this now. Every single person that's walking this earth has dealt with heartbreak at one point in their life, and heartbreak is hard, man. It's a really tough thing to deal with, and some people will turn to drugs. Some people will turn to alcohol. Some people will turn to other forms of of something just to try and numb the pain of that heartbreak. Instead of dealing with that pain directly, we turn to these sort of substances to kind of numb it, because the pain is just so painful. Like, how do we deal with something like that? We either deal with it head on, or we lump ourselves in red wine, sleeping pills, sex, sad films, just to try and make ourselves feel better, just to try and like take the pain away. It's only like a temporary high or temporary thrill that you get, because the pain is always there. It's just suppressed. It's just suppressed. But yeah, it's really deep, man. It's really deep. I haven't personally been divorced myself, but you know, I've heard that divorce, or I heard that divorce is basically like it feels like a death. It feels like somebody's just ripped your soul, ripped your heart out of you. Like, in one minute you're married to this person who you feel like you're gonna be with for the rest of your life, and the next minute, like the relationship's over and you have to go back to square one. It seems like on this track, this person is having a real hard time dealing with that or coming to terms with that. And the outro line was what kind of did it for me, and what kind of sums this whole track up. I'll see you in the next life. That is deep. That is deep. I will see you in the next life. Oof. This was a beautiful record, an absolute. Do you know what? They literally could have finished the whole album off of this record, and it would have been a befitting end. Yes, here's the last track, and it's called Untitled. It's only a minute long, so maybe it's an outro, maybe it's an interlude or an outerlude, or maybe it's an instrumental. Let's see how this one sounds. Guys, that was Untitled, and you know, yeah, I kind of had a feeling maybe that it might be an instrumental, or it might be some sort of interlude. Very interesting way to end this album. I don't think I've ever heard an album end on an instrumental, a vocal album end on an instrumental. The idea behind that, I would love to know. Kind of feel like this was still a very unique and befitting way to end this album. It sort of gave me that feeling of like a moment of silence, like a minute of silence. I know this track wasn't exactly a minute. A great way to end this incredible listen. I'm honestly blown away. And I can safely say that not only did this album meet my expectations, but I think it definitely exceeded them. Radiohead have made some great albums in the past. Now, I mentioned at the start of the video that I've listened to In Rainbows, and I've listened to OK Computer, and this is the one album that I really wanted to listen to, because you know, a lot of people say that this was their best work, and this is one of the greatest albums of all time. And after listening to this album, I can definitely see where they're coming from. I still need to kind of give it another listen just to figure out where it sits, where I think it sits in Radiohead's discography, but it's definitely right up there, man. Like, this was next level. This was a pleasure, and I hope you know you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, I know there was a few things that I may have missed, a few of the concepts, a few of the themes. So I'm gonna definitely go back and listen to it again. As if you want me to react to any other Radiohead album, just let me know in the comment section below. Please let me know what you thought about the video. Please interact with me. Let me know if I butchered a couple of the things. I probably obviously did, because it was my first listen. But guys, just let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll be back again real soon with another video. But until then, stay blessed, my people. Yeah, I'm out. Peace.